You kicked up some dust in the MMA community by, I don't want to say calling out Max Holloway, but while you were interviewing him for UFC Tonight, for lack of a better term, called him out for not seeming to be with it. What happened exactly there? What did you see in that interview that made you kind of go like, what the fuck's going on with you?
Well, so, it's funny. Listen, call me journalist of the year, whatever you want to call me, but I'm just breaking stories left, right, and center, Lewis. But so I'm on UFC Tonight, and we had to interview Max Holloway, obviously. And we interviewed Brian Ortega, massive fight that was supposed to happen at the weekend. And unfortunately, it didn't. Certainly, I, as well as many, many other people, were looking forward to that fight. Great fight. But we had to interview me and Max, and me and Kenny Florian and I should say, we're talking about it. Prior to the interview starting, we were looking at him, and he just didn't look right. He didn't look good. He looked sick. He looked weak. He just looked off. For want of a better word, he looked off. And then when we spoke to him, he was slurring his words. And wasn't really putting together particularly coherent sentences. That might sound a bit rich coming from me, but he wasn't putting together the best sentences, and he was definitely slurring his words. He looked half asleep, and I was thinking, maybe he's just got out of bed. Maybe he's adjusted his his sleep patterns because he's fighting late at night. So maybe he's just got out of bed, But then the more I spoke to him, I thought, no, there's something more going on here. And obviously we have cards. We discuss what we're going to interview people about. We discuss the questions we're going to ask prior to them happening. And I had my next question on here, and I thought, no, I can't ignore this. I can't ignore the fact that the guy's going to fight at the weekend, but he's slurring his words and not speaking well. And it wasn't because I was trying to get a scoop or anything. I was genuinely concerned for the guy. So I asked him, I said, Max, but I tried to make a joke out of it, like I do with everything. And also I didn't want to throw him under a bus either. So I was like, Max, everything okay, bud? I mean, you look like you just got out of bed and you look a little tired and this. And, of course, he's a fighter. He wants to fight. Obviously, he knew something was going on. But he put a brave face on it, as all fighters do. Like me with my eye for years. I always bullshitted about it, and put a brave face on it as well. And Max just gave me some, yeah, man, I'm all good, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, then later that night, I'm at the airport flying to Vegas, and the news story starts breaking, Max Holloway out of the fight. And I was like, shit. And apparently he had a concussion in training camp. Word on the street is I'm hearing he got knocked out in training camp and suffered a concussion, but he was still going to fight. Obviously, that could have been very, very damaging for him. God knows what kind of damage he would have, taken to his brain.
How much longer? Because I know nothing about this, right? So how much time would have passed that he would still be that lethargic after a concussion? I mean, because I think
we'll see. A lot of time could pass. I mean, it could be short or it could be long. I mean, I think his name's Chris Holdsworth. Chris Holdsworth, who was a member of Team Alpha Male. I think it was actually TJ Dillashaw. He cracked him in sparring, and I don't think he's ever going to fight again. What was his name? There was another guy, UFC guy. I'm sorry, his name escapes me right now. He got a concussion. Sometimes a concussion can stay with you. Sometimes a concussion can end your career. So anyway, going back to the story. So Max pulled out the fight, and obviously it was reported all over the websites. And then I look at my Twitter messages in the morning, and I have a message off Max, which I don't think you'll mind me sharing this because there's nothing controversial or whatever. He says, "Thank you for the kind words and the call out on the interview, my man. It really means a lot, and I'm grateful for it. Nothing but love for you, man." And I was like, wow. I was blown away, because it was very nice, but it was also a very honest thing for him to say.
Classy,
so
yeah.
I responded. I said, shit, man. I said, after I heard, I thought you would be pissed at me for highlighting it. You know what I mean? If you've got an injury and then a fellow fighter, a colleague, if you will, highlights it in an interview, that might be seen as a dick move. But I did it because I was concerned. And he said, nah, man, don't worry about it. Thank you again. You are a real one, my man. So that was that. When
you said something, was there a part of you that was like, this guy seems concussed, or were you just like kind of like wondering what was going on? Right? Because I know you'd said you thought he maybe be tired, but at that point, were you kind of calling out an injury, or were you almost just kind of saying like, fuck, I can't not point out the fact that he's not acting like himself?
Well, I wasn't sure. As I say, I wasn't totally sure if it was a concussion or whatnot, or was he sick, or had he just got out of bed? You know what I mean? He might have just got out of bed, and maybe he took something to help him sleep the night before and was still super drowsy. You know, I didn't know. It could have been any one of those things, so I can't pretend that I was looking and seeing signs of concussion, because that's not what I was thinking. I was like, you're just off. As I said before, for want of a better word, he just seemed off. So that's why I said, Max, you good, buddy? Everything okay? Because you seem a little sleepy. And then, of course, all the rest broke. So that was a real shame at the weekend, because that was, of course, it was the co-main event, one of the biggest fights, and everyone was looking forward to it. It was going to be a great fight. I'm sure Max will be back very, very soon. Take a well-needed break. That's the problem with MMA, man, The expression is, the saying goes, you got to train the way you fight. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to fight hard and you're going to leave it all out there, you've got to train the same way. And that's the danger, because, obviously look at Max Holloway and look at other people in the past. When you go, if you don't push yourself in training, you don't really go for it and have that high output, then when you come to the fight, you're not going to be able to handle it. You're going to gas yourself. You're going to tire out way quicker, because that's not the way you've been training. Now, people might say, well, you can still train a high output but not go as hard and hit as hard. But no, that's not true. Throwing a punch with force as hard as you can is way harder than throwing it light and fast. I can throw a million of these like little things, but putting everything into a big shot really tires you out. And I'm not saying you need to try and knock people out in training, but you've got to replicate a real fighting environment. And that's where the danger of training for mixed martial arts or boxing or any contact sport for that matter comes in. So it is, to train for these high-level fights, that's the way it's got to be. And unfortunately, these things happen. So it's not Max's fault, certainly not the UFC's or Brian Ortega's or anyone's fault.
Of course.
It's just a byproduct of the sport that we do.
But also, it sucks because it's the second fight in a row. UFC 222, he had to pull out. What was that injury? It was a different injury. I don't remember what it was.
That wasn't an injury. That was just a wake up. Remember, he took that fight at super short notice against Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? Is that what you're talking about?
I thought, was it an injury? I'm almost. Yeah.
No, he pulled out of the fight against Khabib. He was supposed to go in as a what's it called? A late replacement for, who was Khabib supposed to fight?
No, leg injury right here.
Injured his leg, and then Max was stepping in. So there you go. But no. He doesn't have a history of pulling out. He just took a fight short notice, could have made the weight, and then as luck would have it, he had a concussion in his next one. That's what
I'm talking about, him hurting himself for the Edgar fight.
Why is this monitor just on me constantly?
I don't know.
There's two people in this conversation. Can we get a split screen action going on?
Yeah, Harrington, make it fucking work, buddy. Mike, we got to talk about BetDSI, which is, we love them. They've been with us for a long time. BetDSI has been hooking us up. They've been sponsoring the show for a long time. And what BetDSI.com is, it's a website that makes it super easy to throw some cash down on your favorite sports, especially fights. If you love fights as it is, throw a little bit of cash down on a fight. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to change your whole perspective.
Yeah, that's right, Lewis. BetDSI.com have been in business for over 20 years, and they're a top-rated business on all the review sites. Easy to use, fast playing interface, bet games as they go, live in-game wagering options throughout tournaments, so you can make plays throughout entire games and events. Plus, great customer service available 24/7, 365. BetDSI has built a reputation on fast payments of winnings. So, if you want to watch a sport, get involved, put some money on it, go to betdsi.com, use the promo code ME25. You get $25 for free just for registering using the promo code ME25. And of course, if you listen to the podcast, you know that if you use that code ME25 and put money down, they will triple that money. They will give a 200% bonus match.